All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and look at a massive, kind of hidden shift happening right now in the world of enterprise AI. For a long time, the whole narrative around AI at work was just pure, unadulterated excitement, right? Boundless potential. But behind the scenes, the actual financial reality of running these incredibly heavy systems is quietly reshaping how businesses operate. We are officially transitioning from this wild era of unlimited experimentation into one of strict, rigorous accountability. For the past couple of years, this was literally the only question that mattered to executives. From the boardroom all the way down to IT, the mandate was crystal clear. Roll out the tools, get them in front of employees, and push everyone to use generative AI for basically everything. The entire game was just maximizing adoption. But today, a pretty massive plot twist has completely flipped the script. Companies are suddenly forced to ask this much harder question, mainly because they're waking up to just how shockingly expensive unrestricted AI has become. It turns out, getting everyone to use AI? That was the easy part. Paying for everyone to use it all day, every day? Yeah. Entirely different story. Section 1. The AI bill arrives when budgets burn fast. Let's look at what actually happens when employees embrace AI exactly the way management asked them to, only to set off a complete financial shockwave. Uber is such a perfect example of this new reality. In early 2026, they pushed hard for engineers to adopt AI coding assistants, even using internal leaderboards to kind of gamify the whole thing. And, well, it worked perfectly. But because tools like Claude Code and Cursor use volatile token-based pricing instead of a safe, flat fee, every single prompt, coding session, and autonomous agent just drained the budget. By April, just 4 months in, their entire annual AI budget was completely exhausted, forcing them to slap strict monthly spending limits on every employee. Now, what's really wild is that this isn't an isolated incident. It's happening everywhere. A Priceline employee recently saw a routine Cursor renewal come back at roughly 4 to 5 times the previous cost. See, companies planned their budgets around the old world of flat, predictable software subscriptions. But the AI industry is moving fast toward usage-based pricing. So when your developers rely on AI agents churning away in the background all day, those costs literally multiply exponentially. Section 2. The TokenMaxxing illusion. Why more isn't always better. So, a lot of organizations fell into a trap that we actually have a name for now, TokenMaxxing. This is the totally flawed idea that more AI usage automatically equals more productivity. Companies, even giants like Meta, were throwing parties over massive internal token consumption only to learn a really hard lesson. More tokens do not magically create more business value. Rewarding raw compute usage made sense when you just wanted people to try the tech. But when the bills hit the millions, leadership realized that an employee burning through massive amounts of compute wasn't necessarily doing high-quality work. They were just, running up the meter. Because of this reality check, we're seeing a massive pivot. We're moving away from those vanity metrics of early adoption, like total prompts or active users, and shifting toward rigorous maturity metrics. You simply can't justify an AI budget today by bragging about how many tokens you consumed. Executives are demanding to see real business outcomes, clear ROI, and strict cost efficiency. The vibe has totally shifted from use AI everywhere to use the exact right AI for the exact right task. Think about this for a second. Even Microsoft, a company dropping tens of billions on their own infrastructure, recently had to scale back internal access to Claude Code just to enforce spending discipline. When the tech giants who literally own the data centers are saying, "Whoa, this is getting too expensive," you know it's serious. It's definitely not a rejection of AI, but rather this stark realization that AI needs the exact same rigorous financial monitoring that we already apply to standard cloud computing. Section 3. Providers hit compute limits. Demand outpaces supply. It is not just the buyers feeling the pain right now. The AI providers themselves are facing an unprecedented compute crunch. Demand is just vastly outpacing the physical supply of GPUs. All these massive computing demands from autonomous agents have forced OpenAI and Anthropic to slap strict usage limits on their frontier models and scramble to navigate major infrastructure bottlenecks. As users graduate from simple chat prompts to deploying autonomous coding agents that run hundreds of background tasks, the required inference just skyrockets. That's exactly why we're seeing periodic API outages, fluctuating performance, and volatile token pricing. The providers are desperately trying to balance fairness across their user base with the literal physical limits of their hardware. To put this scarcity into perspective, by late June 2026, compute availability was so incredibly tight that Google actually had to restrict Meta's access to its Gemini models. No way, right? This proves that AI scarcity isn't just a headache for everyday consumers, it's a massive systemic supplier problem. When one tech giant literally has to throttle another tech giant because there just aren't enough GPUs on planet Earth to handle the workload, you know the industry has hit a serious bottleneck. Section 4. The rise of AI FinOps, bringing governance to generative AI. This incredible squeeze on both the buyers and the sellers is giving birth to an entirely new financial discipline. Just like the absolute shot of cloud computing bills a decade ago gave us Cloud FinOps, we're now watching the exact same framework being built for artificial intelligence. 10 years ago, companies blindly threw everything into the cloud, got hit with astronomical bills, and had to quickly invent a way to govern that spend. History is completely repeating itself with AI FinOps. It's all about transitioning from a totally wild free-for-all to governed, optimized, and tightly monitored workflows. Instead of blindly throwing AI at every problem, companies are now running through a strict AI FinOps checklist, and it starts right here, matching the exact workload to the right model. I mean, you wouldn't hire a senior aerospace engineer to screw in a light bulb, right? In the same way, you absolutely don't need a massive state-of-the-art frontier model to do a simple data sorting task. This is the next big question. Companies are really scrutinizing whether that massive, expensive model is actually required or if a smaller open-source model could easily handle the job. Those smaller models are incredibly fast, drastically cheaper, and for a lot of specialized internal corporate tasks, they are more than capable. AI FinOps is all about making these smart, deliberate choices before a single token is ever processed. This is where teams are hunting for technical efficiencies to make sure they aren't paying for the exact same compute twice. Think about it. If hundreds of employees ask an AI assistant to summarize the exact same weekly company all-hands meeting, caching the prompt means the system only does that heavy computational lifting once. That simple optimization drastically cuts down the underlying token costs and saves an absolute fortune at scale. Finally, leadership wants strict accountability for who is actually delivering ROI on these massive inference costs. If your marketing team is burning through thousands of dollars in AI compute just to churn out a couple of generic social media posts, but the engineering team uses that exact same budget to ship software twice as fast, well, the company's going to reallocate those resources. Suddenly, every single token has to justify its existence. Section 5. A more mature phase. From unlimited subscriptions to accountable infrastructure. Now, none of this means enterprises are abandoning AI, not at all. They are simply maturing and starting to treat it like the critical, measurable infrastructure it actually is. We've officially moved past the testing the waters phase of experimentation. We've survived the absolute wildfire of maximizing adoption everywhere. And now we have officially arrived in the era of efficiency. AI is no longer just a magic trick or an unlimited corporate perk. It's a fundamental utility, just like electricity or server space, and it has to be optimized, governed, and rigorously justified. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to ponder. When the next big AI bill hits your company's inbox, is it going to trigger a financial shockwave, or will it be a calculated, expected investment? Understanding this massive shift from blind adoption to calculated efficiency isn't just about pinching pennies. It is absolutely crucial for building a sustainable foundation for the future of work. Thanks for joining me to unpack the new economics of enterprise AI.